Just gonna like do it from the top. Here we go. Welcome to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, well-known radio sports personality, Bruce McGowan.
Nice to be here.
And Vern Glenn of CBS affiliate KPIX-TV in San Francisco.
We're in the huddle.
Yeah, that's right, because football is right around the corner.
It's right around the corner. It's here.
It's here.
It's here, baby.
I
Okay.
can tell he's excited.
I am, man.
And today's show is going to be special because we're going to have a special guest. And that is Joel Kirsch from the American Sports Institute.
Now, every week we say we have a special guest, but this week we really mean it.
All right.
Now, Joel is an unusual fellow, and I think you'll really enjoy what he has to say.
Okay, excellent. All right, now every commercial break we're going to be asking a sports trivia question, and the first three emails with the correct answer are going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. And the vacations are free. Their only request is a $75 cleaning fee to cover housekeeping expenses.
What if you have 74?
74 what?
Dollars.
Then you can't go.
I have to come up with that dollar somewhere.
You have to bring your own bed sheet.
Look under the mattress.
There you go.
Get some quarters.
That's right. You can listen to Sports Econ 101 on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Sports Byline USA, and CRN, along with many other terrestrial stations.
We're out there.
Yes.
We are out there. All right. Now, this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding 8% or more secured by real estate. Doesn't get any more conservative than that. Check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. Along with Joel, we're also going to be talking about a few other things. I mean, I got so much stuff here that I can't even tell you what we're going to talk about. I just have pages and pages. All right. So
well, let's just get it from the point of attack.
That's right.
Let's get going.
That's right.
Let's go one-on-one. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you are listening to Sports Econ 101. If you have any email questions, email Edward at sportsecon101.com. And don't touch that dial because Sports Econ 101 will be right back.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
We'll be right back with Joel.
He's touching it. He's touching it.
See how much fun we have? Okay, so that's the first quick segment there.
Okay.
That'll hold them.
Yeah. Now a little more serious.
Do we have to be?
Somewhat.
How was your vacay, man?
Good.
Yeah.
Just up in the mountains with the family and lots of hiking. Lots of hiking, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And I got out and got my 3 miles in today. Yeah. I couldn't take my dog, though. My dog is getting old and tired. He can only do 2 miles, and he's really slowing down.
Was it like a river or something like that you were on?
Yeah, we were on a stream coming out of a lake that runs through a camp, and there was lots of lakes nearby, and it was up about 6,500 feet. Really nice. Really off the beaten path, about 50 miles north of Tahoe.
I could just picture you now in the river, just Molly, here's how you do it. You just reach in and like pull out a fish.
wasn't quite like that.
Just watch how the bears do it.
Oh my goodness! All right.
All right. So now we're going to introduce you, and
Okay.
we'll ask you, tell us a little bit about American Sports Institute, and then we'll free for all of it. Okay.
Here we go.
And away we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn.
Man, myth, legend.
And Bruce McGowan.
Good to be here.
Excellent. Okay, we are in the studio here with Joel Kirsch from the American Sports Institute. Joel, welcome to Sports Econ 101.
Thank you.
He's the man from ASI.
That's
ASI,
right.
okay.
I actually used to work with Joel for a short time.
All right.
Yeah, we worked together.
That's right.
Yeah, he was nice enough to employ me part-time after I got blown out of a job, and had a great time working with him. He's going to tell you all about what he's doing now.
Okay, so tell us about the American Sports Institute. What do you do?
Right. What the Institute is, it's a nonprofit organization, and what we do is we use the principles and practices that work in sport culture, physical education, and wellness, and we address personal, social, and international issues from a physical, sport-oriented perspective.
Sounds like a nice program. All right.
In layman's terms, what does that really mean?
So, let's take an example. So, the biggest thing we're working on right now is looking at the public school system in America. We know we've got a lot of problems in our public schools, but at the same time, all the kids are engaged in sports. So what is it about sport that is so engaging, and why aren't the kids engaged in the academic environment, and what can the people in academia learn from sport to make sport more engaging so the kids want to be there as much as they want to be out on the
Well,
field.
I've heard that a lot of athletes have said that it was really good that they participated in sports because it kept them out of trouble. And I mean, I totally agree with that. I think one of the problems, though, is that you get too many attorneys out there. I didn't use any swear words. Too many attorneys out there, and that's they start cutting all these programs because kids get hurt and they sue, parents sue, and et cetera, et cetera.
But I think sports kind of teaches you about life. It teaches you values.
Teamwork,
Loyalty. If you can get through, you can't get through to all of them, Joel, huh? But I mean, you can get to most of them, I would think.
Right, but there are other programs too that teach character development, this and that. You have music, you have theater, you have things like that. But there is something unique about sport. And
Well,
this
it's competitive.
Well, yes, it is competitive, but that is not the reason kids engage in sports. That's not the reason professional athletes engage in sports. None of that.
Well, you think what is it, the camaraderie?
No.
I'm running on fumes here. Go ahead.
Right. Well, that's certainly there.
But don't they want to challenge themselves?
Well, yes, but then the question is, why do they want to challenge themselves?
Well, I mean, that's in the game upstairs, isn't it? I mean, everybody's different.
Well, you could say everybody's different, but the real reason people engage in physical activity, and they will tell you this, and sport is just a cultural manifestation of physical activity, the real reason they do that is they feel good when they do it. So then you go, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why do they feel good? What is this about?
Endorphins.
Well,
That's
endorphins,
right.
yes, but then there's also something that happens, and this may be the first time you've ever had this on your show, Edward, but this has to do with evolution. And what happens is every time we are physically engaged, not only does the body become more fit, healthier, but so do our brains.
Okay, fair enough.
And so as our brains develop, we feel good about it, including the releasing of the endorphins. And so when, say, professional athletes, we hear, well, once they hang them up, they miss the crowd, they miss this. No, they miss the play.
Yeah.
They miss running around because that's when they're more human than anywhere else.
I've always said when I go surfing, it's the same feeling. I know that's a little bit of a cliche, but when you go out in the water and you get in tandem with this great force of nature and you're using your body, it not only relaxes the mind and focuses you, but you walk away feeling so much better physically, and all the little nonsensical things that used to drive you crazy are kind of, they've been put on the back burner at least for a few hours.
Well, a lot of times, like I'll go to the gym specifically, just because I just need to feel good.
Exactly. And so
It has nothing to do with the beautiful women there.
Don't tell your wife.
Yeah.
But what Bruce
She's
is,
one of them. Go ahead.
what Bruce is talking about here, there is, this is going to sound off the wall, but there are researchers at Stanford, at UCSF, other universities who are literally studying what is the effect on human beings by being in the ocean, in Bruce's case, in the surfing. And we're starting to see that it has a neurological, medicinal effect by being in the water.
So this physicality can give you a feeling that you can't get from anything else.
Well, question about the water. Would a swimming pool be the same way, or
No.
salt water?
No. It's in the natural environment.
Like without
They have, wait, I should be careful. They haven't done the studies on being in a swimming pool.
Okay.
They are doing the studies currently being in the ocean.
I mean, I would think, the ocean with all the salt and algae and the potential to be eaten by a shark, it's got to get away.
Oh yeah, that'll make me feel good. Yeah.
But you know something, when you get out in the ocean, and I don't want to get off on a tangent about this, but when you do get out in the ocean and you're immersed in this enormous part of the biosphere, which is really 70% of what our Earth is. And I know it sounds like I'm getting off on a spiritual tangent here, but you really get in tandem with who you are and what this is all about, because your body is 70% water.
Yeah.
And I'm just using surfing as an example. It's a wonderful cathartic activity that I have never met a person out in the water, with rare exception, who doesn't come away from there feeling a lot better once they get out of the water.
Well, I did too, until I got slammed down to the sand by one of those waves. Yeah, but it does make you one with nature.
Yeah. It's humbling, but it's wonderful.
And the same thing happens, say, on a football team, basketball team, baseball team, anything like that. Whenever all the players are in sync like that, just like, say, what Bruce is talking about, special things happen. And so, Bill Walsh always used to use the phrase being in sync. being in sync. And we know about athletes having their rhythm, right?
Yeah.
So when one athlete has his or her rhythm, they have their rhythm. When two or more athletes have the same rhythm, then they have momentum. And everybody knows that you could be the worst team on the planet, but if you've got Mo, it doesn't matter. You're going to do well.
And that's the underlining thing on the NCAA tournament. Because if you just get in, you may not be the best team.
Right.
Man, boy, if all five on the floor are working in concert, it can carry you all the way.
Well, it's the same
Look
thing
what Butler did a few years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was thinking right away about when Miami got LeBron and Bosh. At first, everyone thought, "Oh, that's it. They're all good. They're going to win right away."
Mm-hmm.
But it took an extra year for them to get in sync. And yet, San Antonio, those guys were just like on fire.
And they still are.
Yeah, that was a clinic what San Antonio
It's amazing. Because how old are those guys now? About 85.
did. Right? and Duncan's coming back.
And they're all coming
Parker
back,
just,
yeah.
Amazing.
Parker just signed.
You know, they had to buy into a system too. I mean, they all buy in. And that's,
That's
you know,
that's the thing. And what Bruce is talking about, it's like when a commitment is made to a common vision that transcends the self, like in a team-oriented perspective, what Papa did with San Antonio, that's the result.
Yeah, it takes a while too for people to get away from being completely involved with what they want and their immediate goals, and to put it on the back burner and say this is for the good of the team. And that's one of the great things I think about sport that we learn. Vern and I cover sports closely, and Joel, you and Edward have been around sports long enough to know how important that concept of teamwork and selflessness is. And that's something that I think that you get into quite a bit with ASI.
That's exactly right. And then the same thing, so we started off this conversation about the school. So we look at this situation as, well, how is it that the kids aren't in sync with one another in school? What's happening there where they don't have those kinds of activities with kids working together rather than each kid competing against the other one?
Okay, save that thought. When we come back from break, I want you to answer that question. Okay. And by the way, I'm changing my toilet from the name John to the name Jim. That way, when I say, "Hey, I'm going to the gym," it sounds a lot better. Okay, here's our first commercial break, and the trivia theme is "Missed It by That Much." All right.
Yeah, the old Maxwell
Yeah.
Spice reference.
Exactly. Okay, in 1922, George Sisler batted .420 and won the batting title over the runner-up, who hit .401 in the season. Ooh, can you imagine hitting 400 and not winning batting title?
Wow.
Okay, so here's the question: who was the player that missed it by that much? All right. The first 3 emails with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email edward@sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. In 1922, George Sisler batted .420 and won the batting title over the runner-up, who hit .401. Who was that player who missed it by that much? Don't touch that dial, because Sports Econ 101 will be right back. Okay.
I'm going to guess Rogers Hornsby, but I know that he hit .424
In 1924. That's how I remember that one. Yeah.
But I know he hit 400, I think, twice in his career. This was a guy who, when his mom died, the funeral was set for Saturday, and he said, somebody asked him, "Are you going to the funeral?" He goes, "Well, we got a game that day." "Yeah, but it's your mom's funeral." He says, "Yeah." He says, Mom would have understood.
Change
She probably would.
Yeah, that's true.
The greatest.
Why are you sitting around staring at me? Go play!
The best line I ever heard was from George Will in this context. And he said, "The only thing I remember about my wedding day is that the Cubs lost a double."
Wow.
I hope his wife never heard that.
Wow.
Yeah, well, you know what? I got married on October 14th, 1989, the first day of the Bay Bridge World Series.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my wife,
Well, you got married the day of the earthquake, right?
3 days before.
Okay.
So October 14th was day one.
Right.
And our wedding was at like 2 o'clock, and the game started at 5. So I told my wife, because I was watching the Cubs and watching, going, "Oh, shoot, man, we're going to have a Bay Bridge series." I said, "Sweetie," I said, "listen, just so you know," because she had all the things planned. I said, "Listen, by 5 o'clock, people are going to be leaving because the game is on."
Right.
And she, "What?" And I said, "Don't worry, I'll stick around." But I said, I can't imagine people, after 3 hours.
Isn't it funny how wired they are? I mean, they in playing something like that, they probably have they live in a fishbowl. They have no idea that anything could possibly be going on at that. Exactly.
Yeah.
It is pretty unbelievable.
I got married the first day the Raiders returned to Oakland, their first game in Oakland, and I missed it. And I was looking ahead of time. I said,
How
you know,
could you miss
I said
it?
to my wife, I said, you know, this is the Raiders' first game back in Oakland. Couldn't we do it some other? No, she goes, no, we're doing it that day.
My brother-in-law got married on a Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh no!
Oh boy, that's tough.
Well, they had to do it. She was the wife was knocked up. She wanted to start showing. If they had waited till like June or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Super Bowl Sunday was the only Sunday that was available.
Oh,
So
boy.
why not wait
1 week. Because the Pro Bowl was on.
Oh, yeah.
Back in those
No,
days.
it was just the only Sunday that was, and they did it.
Oh, that's funny.
Wow.
Of course, I did not go.
Of course.
Hell no.
Yeah, but you know what? Hopefully he can remind his wife every time. Anniversary. Oh my gosh, anniversary. Every 7 years lands on that Sunday.
That's right.
Sweetie, we are watching the Super Bowl for this anniversary. Okay, ready? Here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown, your host here, along with Vern Glenn and Bruce McGowan.
Yes, sir.
When we get to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Again, the theme is missed it by that much. Actually,
Don Adams,
Don
right?
Adams, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not the answer to this question.
Who was Maxwell Smart?
Yeah, that's right. Jeopardy. In 1922, George Sisler batted .420 and won the batting title over the runner-up who hit .401 in the season. Who was the player that missed it by that much?
I know. Ty Cobb.
Yes.
Was it
Ty
Ty Cobb?
Cobb.
I was going to say Rogers Hornsby because I know he had .424 in 1924, but that was the all-time record.
And what a
That's
sweet,
good guess.
what a sweet man he was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
God.
Actually, I think they said Ty Cobb was the most hated.
Oh, yeah.
Hornsby was number 2.
And I should have known that George Sisler was in the American League and Ty Cobb was also in the American League. Rogers Hornsby was with the Cardinals in the National League. Very good clue. Right?
Yeah,
Very
excellent.
good,
Good
yeah.
guess. We are in the studio here with Joel Kirsch from the American Sports Institute. And if you remember when we cut off the break, what we were talking about.
Right. It was about the whole concept of players committing to a common cause or something higher than themselves. And what we do at the American Sports Institute in that context is we look at education and say, why is it that the kids are always competing against one another rather than working with one another the way you do on a team? And once you know you've got somebody's support, and we've worked with schools around the country in getting the kids to do this, all of a sudden the whole attitude changes, and all the kids then are there not only for their own academic performance, but they know that they're responsible for their classmates. And now everybody's pulling together, and all the stress and the tension and the anxiety about being in class, all that goes away.
So what happens when you have a kid who isn't more of a team sport person, but more of an individual sport like
Chess.
yeah,
Whatever.
golf? Well, golf can be, but
Right.
I mean bowling,
Whatever
or,
it might be. So,
rowing,
right. So that becomes that becomes a learning experience, because the whole concept or the whole idea is, of course you can do whatever you want to do, but you're not in this culture by yourself. You have to learn to work with people and get along with people, et cetera, et cetera. So it becomes a learning experience, but at the same time, you make sure you have a role for that student where they can take some type of leadership role, because that's the kind of person they are.
You know what I thought was interesting is that there are some people who are cut out to be team-type sports, let's say like basketball or football, and other ones are more inclined to do very rote, like rowing. They do the same thing over and over again. They're really, really good at that, or they have a lot of endurance for running. Kind of interesting, just the contrast between those two.
Right, exactly. And we have to acknowledge and respect those people who take the lead in doing those kinds of things. But then you ask them, okay, what is it that you do so well, and how can you show us to be as good as you are? And so everybody, the whole idea of competition, everybody thinks you compete against someone. No, you compete with someone. The book by Bill Russell, Second Wind, when he wrote that book when Auerbach was still alive. And he said in that book, don't tell Red this, but in the playoffs against the Lakers, I always rooted for them while I was playing, for them to score, because it pushed me harder to play better so that, I could reach my potential and perform at a higher level. And I always wanted to win, but I wanted the Lakers to push me.
I understand. That makes sense. So, Claire's a question for you is, where does your funding come from?
Right, so we get funding from all the sources that normal nonprofits do, individuals, foundations, events, things like this. And right now we're working on a special project to start a school here in Marin County that's going to focus on sport culture and physical education and wellness. And it's going to be privately funded, tuition free, so we're going to individuals to raise the funds for this school.
Very cool. And what
Modeled kind of after, say, like East Side Prep in Palo Alto, where it's all scholarship, where there's, you've got the academic and you obviously have athletic things, but everything's built to kind of, I don't know if you're familiar with the curriculum at East Side Prep.
I'm familiar with their curriculum, but ours is all by lottery, open to any kid in the county, and the whole focus, physical activity, is at the center of the curriculum, the way the ancient Greeks had it, and then the math, the language arts, sciences, social studies are built around the physical activity.
You know, it's interesting, you mentioned the ancient Greeks, and that's one thing that's always struck me about what you are doing. We talked about this when I was working with you, about how the Greeks really exalted sports, and they put it in a place that is much different than where we put it today. Today, I mean, it's still regarded very highly, but it's more commercialized. With them, it was almost a spiritual thing.
Well, especially when they're competing naked.
Right. Well, that's true. They did originally.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, sport, back in the time of the ancient Greeks, the height of the Athenian era, it was held in the same regard as literature, philosophy, civics, things like this, which is much different than it is today. But that's one of the things we're looking to do. Is sport was originally in the ancient Greeks era, it was a part of the arts, humanities, and sciences. So one of our missions is to return sport to what we call its rightful place of honor in the arts, humanities.
I remember what kind of, I mean, they had like wrestling.
Oh, and running, and boxing, and just a whole host of events, but most of them were around running.
I got to ask you though, Joel, what's your feelings today about the commercialization of sports? Because I know you have strong feelings about that. It is a multi-billion-dollar business, and Vern and I certainly don't want to bite the hand that feeds us. But at the same time, the amount of money being paid to these athletes, the amount of money that the fans are paying for tickets, it's just gotten almost comical. It's almost cartoonish. What's your feelings about this?
Right. Well, we have a saying that the overemphasis on winning and money trivializes sport, and I won't use any names now because this was told in confidence. But there are a number of people in professional sports who have come up to me and said, you know, it's no longer a game; it's just a business.
Oh, sure.
And I remember when the Haas family owned the A's, and Roy Eisenhart was the president, and he came out one time and he said, owning a professional sport organization is a public trust. And it's not to be run simply on how much money you make, how much money you lose, and that's the bottom line. We have an obligation to the community, and the community comes first, and money is certainly important, but it's not the bottom
I like that.
line.
Well, especially when you're talking, you know, a game, 30, 40,000 people, you know, good attendance. That it's a lot of the public.
Right, exactly, and it's something that unites people, pulls everybody together, and so there's a responsibility there. But unfortunately, some owners, or many owners, don't see that responsibility, and then we have the kinds of things that we have going on.
There's just so much pressure, though, to win. I mean, it's just
Right.
Even at the young ages.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you've got at the other end of the spectrum, you've got the Wrigley family that own the Cubs. I mean, they don't have any incentive to win because they're just printing money every day.
Okay, but the Cubs are an interesting situation because they have proven that you don't have to win to make money.
Yeah, but you get a lot of angry fans, though.
Yeah, but they don't care. I mean, so long as the tickets are sold, they don't care.
So people go to Wrigley Field, it isn't just to see the Cubs win, although they certainly want them to. They go for the experience of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Those are
that's what
real
a good stadium will do. Like, you know, AT&T Park, a great stadium. It's a good family outing.
Absolutely.
I'm just curious though. Is this whole thing, this emphasis on winning and money making, it's not strictly identified with the United States, but we sort of taken it to a higher level. I mean, we've taken it to a level it's never been taken to before.
Except soccer.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I mean, even soccer. I mean, you look at the international.
Worldwide. I mean,
Yeah.
there's hundreds of millions that are funneled into the English Premier League teams.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But I mean, what do you think of that, Joel? Is it just because of capitalism and our system, our unique economic system, that allows for that or creates that so-called monster?
Okay, well, here's the history lesson again, and this goes back to the time of the ancient Greeks when sport was a part of the arts and humanities and sciences. And what happened was, they used to give to the winners, what the winners would get would be a laurel wreath that they put on top of their head and a huge vase of wine.
There you go.
Okay, and you'd party for several days, but once the wine was gone and the wreath had wilted, then you were back amongst the commoners. And that's where you get the whole expression, don't rest on your laurels.
Yeah.
Right, so that's where that
That's
all
where that came from.
That's where that came from.
Okay.
Right.
Kids, let's sit at Joel's feet and listen to story after story.
Right. But the interesting thing was that's when sport was a part of the arts, humanities, and sciences, and the two things that corrupted it were they started moving away from the laurel wreath and the vase of wine. They started giving out money, and they started to cheat in order to win. And so it was the overemphasis on winning and money that brought sport down. And this started 2,500 years ago. So what's going on today is not new.
Well, back in the day, Ted Williams and all that, they had to have a second job because they just didn't make enough money
during the offseason.
Oh, yeah.
And even, presidents, you look at John Adams, he went back to being a farmer afterward. So,
Right.
Yeah, they,
Right.
Can you imagine being DiMaggio and having to play every year for a new contract? Can you imagine?
That drives you crazy. Hey, guys, we're going to cut to our second commercial break. Joel Kirsch from American Sports Institute, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. Okay, the trivia theme is Missed It by That Much. And here it is. St. Louis Cardinal Bob Gibson was a Cy Young winner in 1968. He had an amazing ERA of 1.12, which set a modern-day National League season record. Which American League Cy Young winner threw a lower ERA in the 1980s? All right? The first three emails with the correct answer won a free three-day two-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com. The answer to this question. St. Louis Cardinals Bob Gibson was a Cy Young winner in 1968. He had an amazing ERA of 1.12, which set a modern-day National League season record. However, which American League Cy Young Award winner threw a lower ERA in the 1980s? Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101 will be right back.
ERA in the 1980s, an American League pitcher.
David Cohn?
That's a good one, huh?
Not Roger Clemens. I'm drawing a blank on that one.
And that was 1.12.
1.12?
Lower than that?
Lower one than that.
This guy a starter? Can you give us a hint? A starting pitcher?
I
or reliever?
I would expect it to be a starting pitcher.
No, it wasn't.
Oh,
He's
it's
not a
reliever.
starting pitcher.
Willie Hernandez? Of the Tigers? I remember he had an amazing year, 84. What is this I'm looking at?
And he won the Cy. So it was a reliever that won the Cy Young
Oh, that's just
in the
like,
80s.
Again, it's just a little bit of what's it called this thing here? There's
Some kind of
a
sports
little bit
drink?
of that in it.
Oh,
Just gives a little flavor.
okay.
You look at it.
Oh, you squirt a little bit, it gives it flavor?
Yeah.
Oh, like the commercial. Isn't it a commercial for it?
Zero? I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can squirt a little, but you can squirt a lot.
Yeah.
And the shot changes every time.
That's
All right,
awesome.
big guy, I'm out of here.
Okay.
Joel, thank you
Good
very
to see you,
much.
Joel.
Good to see you.
Nice
Bruce.
meeting you.
You too. You too,
Yeah.
Edward. Bruce, first time I've seen you with hair on your
Yeah,
face.
I know.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
All right, Joel.
Back in the
Let me
80s
let
I
you
had
out.
it, but
Let me
that was
release
a
you.
long time ago.
All right.
Long
All right,
time
guys.
ago. So I'll see you is it Wednesday?
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Right.
See you
All right,
next
guys.
Wednesday.
Take care.
Take care, Joel. Thanks so
All right.
much. It was great.
And I can go tomorrow if you still.
Would you like to go?
Yeah,
Sure.
Great. But you gotta let me buy you your lunch or gas or something.
Oh, it's no
Hey,
big deal.
tonight,
No big deal.
do you know any idea how Eric Burns did last night for the Pacifics?
No, he played. That's right.
No,
I
he's
have not been
He's
paying
playing in
any,
left field tonight again.
I
He's
have
doing it
not
again
been
tonight.
paying any attention to the
Really
Pacifics.
cool that what he's doing.
Yeah.
I don't know what his 2-day salary is, but all that other stuff though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I liked seeing that. Well, the Pacific's they're not a very good team this year. They don't have they've got a lot of young kids, and they're.
Did the manager resign or something like that?
I don't know what happened, but they're losing to the travel team up in Sonoma that doesn't even have a home. So. But they're drawing fans.
Imagine, okay, now Eric, one of the things is he's going to give $100,000 if he gets Grand Slam.
Is that right?
Yeah. So can you imagine getting bases loaded and having him go, I love this nonprofit, but not so much. So I'm in a ground ball.
A little dribbler.
Yeah.
Well, he had a contract where I think for a couple of years he made $13 million a year, something like that, wasn't that?
Yeah, he made big. His last few years, yeah, he made.
Yeah, because he
cashed
it.
And then all of a sudden,
to Arizona, man,
he had a couple of good years.
He
but
got a
really
big contract in Arizona, and then I think he got some money up in Seattle, and then he just couldn't hit anymore. Just couldn't.
He's an amazing athlete. If you see that guy, he is. He bulked up, and then I think he did some. I hate to say it, I think he did some steroids, but he stopped doing it. And now you see him; he looks like a long distance runner.
Well, he's like a triathlete now.
He's
does a lot
hardcore.
of those.
Yeah, he's what is he about 35?
God, is he that old?
Because that's true.
$15 million, man. That's Vern Glenn money.
Yeah.
Say, speaking of TV guys, you see that Fred Inglis is leaving Channel 2.
Yeah, his last day is August 10th.
Yeah, and they're not. I think they're going to replace him, but Fred tells me he says that they want somebody.
I don't think so. They want somebody young and cheap that'll just be a jack of all trades.
Yeah, and it'll just
what
work
they
their
want.
ass off.
Gingona's going for it.
Is he really?
Yeah, and between you and me, he doesn't.
Well, he's not an on-air guy though. But they don't really need it.
Can do it. They don't really need it. They need more of a producer
kind of
role that can shoot and edit, which and Dave can do those
Dave's
things.
already got that, yeah. So that's good.
All right. You guys ready?
Yes, we are.
I have a habit of doing that too. Okay, here.
Man.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn and Bruce McGinn.
Yes, sir.
When we cut to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question. St. Louis Cardinal Bob Gibson was a Cy Young winner in 1968. He had an amazing ERA of 1.12, which set a modern-day National League season record. Which American League Cy Young winner threw a lower ERA in the 1980s? His ERA was 1.04.
I think it was Willie Hernandez, the left-handed reliever of Detroit.
No.
I'll guess Dennis Eckersley.
No, but you have the right team.
Oh, Oakland A?
Yes, 1980. Actually, he wasn't playing for the A's at the time, though.
Okay.
1981.
1981.
Come on. If you think handlebar mustache, what do you think of?
Oh, Raleigh Fingers.
Raleigh Fingers.
Raleigh
Oh,
Fingers.
1981 for
Wow.
the Brewers.
Wow.
When he got traded, like what, the late 70s?
He was actually, I believe he signed a free agent contract with, I think it was the Padres, and then he ended up with Milwaukee. Yeah, I mean, Charlie Finley, the owner, tried to trade away a bunch of players, and the commissioner nixed those deals, and he lost those guys. He lost Joe Rudy and Gene Tennis and Sal Bando, and then, of course, he did trade Vida Blue to the Giants for 7 players, I think it was, 6 players.
Did any of them turn out?
No. None of them did. No, I mean, well, Dave Haverlow was a reasonably good middle reliever for a while, but that's about it. Yeah.
Can you imagine being one of those 7 players and just kind of feeling like you're just part of cattle?
Well, I mean, you're in the major leagues. Hey, you got a job. I mean, these guys got paid. They didn't get paid a lot in those days, but they got paid a lot better than most, American citizens. So I guess they couldn't complain.
Can't complain. Okay,
Yeah.
Couple things. One, hey, finally, we've been talking about this. Ray Guy finally makes it to the Hall
That's
of Fame.
good for
Isn't that
him.
That is
Awesome.
great.
Good for him.
Yeah, he's
And
a
for
good
all
guy.
you haters out there that don't think, a kicker and punter should be in the Hall of Fame, this guy, he was all-pro his first 6 seasons as a Raider, drafted in the first round by Al Davis, and he was hitting the Kaufman corner and all that kind of. He could do the guy to do anything. He fit the criteria. He was dominant at his position for most of his career, and that is one of the things you look for when you look for consideration for the Hall of Fame.
Well, George Atkinson, one of his longtime teammates, who was a safety, one of the tougher, kind of on the edge kind of players, used to say in practice he would field his punts. He said the ball almost disappeared. He hit it so high, and then when it came down, it dropped so fast. He said it felt like a brick when he caught it. I remember sitting down with Ray Guy. This is about 15 years ago, and talking with him when I went with the Raiders to Atlanta. And he wasn't bitter about not being named to the Hall of Fame, but he felt, and rightly so, as Vernon pointed out, that if you're good enough to play that role, and he also was the 3rd string Raider quarterback.
Yeah.
You know,
That's right.
he was a
He
terrific athlete. He was also he was drafted by a Major League Baseball team. He played high school basketball. Guy was just a great all-around athlete. 6'4", about 190.
Safety too, wasn't
He was a safety in high school, and he went to I think he went to Southern Mississippi.
Yeah.
He is working with Southern Mississippi in fan relations, alumni relations, and happy to be back home because he went through some rough times financially and lost his, had to sell his Super Bowl rings. He went to all 3 Super Bowls that the Raiders won. His wife left him. I mean, he had some rough times, but he's back on the rebound now. It's nice. 64 years old, good guy.
I mean, you got to think that if they call it the Ray Guy Award,
Yeah.
there's no reason for that. In fact,
Yeah.
I remember reading somewhere where I think it was John Madden who said when he kicked the ball, it sounded different.
Yeah.
And then a couple of the other players were going, what are we're getting a punter in the first round?
Yeah, I know.
And they saw it and they said, yeah, this makes sense.
He averaged something like 46 yards a kick, and I remember hearing this last weekend when he had the induction ceremony at Canton that a whole bunch of former NFL punters, I think about 12 or 14 of them, showed up in support, and they had a 3-weekend, party time with Ray, all his old comrades and competitors, and what a great story.
I think the term hang time meant nothing until Ray Guy started doing it.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't think I ever saw him kick a bad punt.
He only had, I think, 5 punts or 6 punts blocked in his entire career, and that's out of about 1,400 punts. And one of those was in the Super Bowl. And it's interesting, right up against the goal line, and luckily the Raiders recovered a fumble 2 plays later, and then Clarence Davis swept around left side, and they scored a touchdown a couple minutes after that, and the game was turned. But Ray Guy was just a great athlete, great punter, but just a great athlete.
Excellent. Okay. A couple things here. But back to the Raiders. Did I hear something that they're thinking about maybe moving to San Antonio?
Oh, well, Mark Davis is listening. I mean, he is looking at every option he can outside of moving to Santa Clara.
Yeah.
He in no way wants to move down there.
He doesn't want to share the facility.
No, and he's stuck because the A's signed a 10-year lease to stay at the Coliseum.
Yeah.
So I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to share the stadium for the next
they're going to have to
few
figure
years
out
or go somewhere else.
Well, it's tough call. They're going to have to find a way to build a stadium there, and I just don't see it. Not with public money in a city that's economically depressed. If some financial angel comes along, but outside of Clorox and a couple of other businesses, major businesses, Oakland isn't exactly the hub of the business community of the Bay Area.
The ports.
And with the Raiders going the way they're going, I mean, how could they be attractive enough to go? Well, we're gonna.
They actually may have a respectable team this year. I think 7 or 8 wins is realistic if they stay healthy because they brought in a lot of veteran players. Their defense is going to be much better. We'll see whether or not Schaub is going to be able to stand up and take some abuse because the offensive line is going to have to protect that guy. You saw what happened last year.
Oh my God! I've been saying that since 2002. What's happened?
When are they going to get a quarterback? Since Rich Gannon left, I mean, how many guys have they had come through that place?
So maybe Ray Guy will come back.
Hey, listen.
How many tickets do they usually sell?
No, they sell. What is it, Vernon? I think they tarped the Mount Davis, so it's about
they tarped down Mount Davis.
45,000, I think.
For about 45,000 or so is the sellout for them.
And they usually get.
They do get, and the reason for that is so they can get local TV.
Yeah, and working for CBS, we carry the games, and so more games than not lately have been aired by CBS, but usually before that, I mean, it's almost every game was blacked out. It was embarrassing.
I'm trying to think of
what the reason?
Yeah, what's the reason?
Well, the reason is to make the tickets more scarce, and therefore people will try to get them ahead of time. If you have 60,000, 70,000 seats available, people can wait to the last minute, and that is not good for the Raiders. They want to be able to sell out that stadium 3 days in advance so they can get the games on television. Kind of ironic that Mount Davis, this god-awful structure that was built in where center field is in Oakland to accommodate the extra people, is now not only not used by the Oakland A's, it's tarped off, but it's tarped off by the Raiders as well. It might as well not be there, and yet it changed the whole character of that stadium.
And how much did that cost to build?
Oh, don't even. Yeah, they're still paying for it. They're still aren't they, Vernon? Are they still paying for that stadium?
I think so.
Yeah,
it's
they
revamped it off because they just don't need that.
They don't need those fans up there. They can fill the place, get 45,000, make the tickets a little more expensive, and get local television, which is what you want.
Yeah, if you get everybody singing in lower bowl, it looks like more of a packed stadium.
Yeah. And let's face it. In fairness to the Raiders do have, and I know a lot of people disagree with me, but they have very passionate, noisy, hardcore knowledgeable fans, and a lot of them come up from LA.
And I will say this.
Yeah.
I will say this. Not many people bring this up or make a big deal out of it. But at that new Levi Stadium, the home of the 49ers, they built an extra set of locker rooms.
Is that right?
With
Just in
the
case.
thought that maybe, just maybe,
Yeah.
they could get another 10.
The interesting thing about that stadium is the 49ers facility, the training facility, is right next door.
Yeah.
And I believe they have an underground tunnel going from their practice facility to the stadium, don't they?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, by now, that was the plan.
Yeah.
To build one. So
Have you been down there to the stadium yet?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's as opulent as you can even imagine. Just the conference room alone, where Harbaugh speaks, looks like a movie theater, amphitheater type.
I'm looking forward
setting.
to going down to a few games.
It'll be fun. It is awesome.
Yeah.
Now, getting there and leaving, that's another.
I hear that's not
another
supposed to be
issue.
a problem, though. I mean, at Candlestick, that was the big problem at Candlestick. So they're going to have hopefully better.
While you were gone on vacation, they used a soccer game in there as a guinea pig game,
and
they got 50,000 in there, about 2/3 of capacity. And they had all kinds of light rail system, transportation, traffic problems all around before and after the game.
Oh, boy.
I got a building down there. Maybe I should rent out parking.
There you go. That's down in Santa Clara on the
Hey,
South Bay.
hey, don't laugh. Don't. Hey, yeah.
Well, from what I understand, Great America, which is the big amusement park right next door, is actually not going to. It's going to shut down the days the 49ers play.
They
on
that
that day,
day
agreement
they shut down.
so they can get the maximum number of parking.
Wow, I mean, playing on a Sunday, obviously,
Yeah.
And
I know.
I would think Great America would be.
It's only going to be about five Sundays because I think the Niners have a couple of Monday night games or Thursday night games, so they'll tell
It's
you.
still a lot of money. I mean, it's got to be.
My big question is there media parking? I want to know.
Yeah, there's media parking. I mean, there's a little section for parking for the media. But getting back to the Great America, you know what, Edward? School's in session anyway during the football season, so it's not like Great America was going to be a draw at the open on Sundays anyway.
Yeah, but that's when people go is during the weekends, right? I mean,
while school is in session, the hours are different than they are in the summer for Great America. It's an amusement park.
Yeah, fair enough.
Catered to kids.
Well, and so talking about the Raiders and that sort of thing. Okay, so the Cowboys, do they have problems selling out the regular season games? And apparently it says, I guess, the low risk of attendance at playoffs is worth making them available. So now, apparently, I guess Jerry Jones is basically saying if you're buying tickets to the games, for season tickets, it's like he's throwing in potential playoffs, right?
Interesting. I did not know this.
So I did not. They're having problems selling.
That's what
season tickets to the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow. They're saying that he's worried about risking.
That stadium is awesome.
Well, he's risking.
And they're always full. Too.
I think what it is the risk of low attendance at the playoffs.
Oh, risk of low attendance. Well,
yeah. So what they're doing is they're basically they don't want a situation where they make the playoffs and they can't sell tickets.
I can't believe they wouldn't be able to sell out. I can't imagine it. In Dallas.
That stadium is so big they could have 8 to 10 other things going on separate from the game.
Yeah, they could actually fly a fleet of 747s and land it in the middle of that field.
I mean, it is unbelievable. I mean, you can see that from miles away.
You've been down there, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, billions of dollars.
Big question though: is Tony Romo going to be healthy and he's going to be able to play a full season?
He better be.
He's 34 years old. He's got a bad back. I mean,
Tony Romo. I got one thing on him here, and then we'll have to cut the break. So he was playing soccer, right? And they're talking about parameters as to what players can do in the off season.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if you guys remember, Cal Ripken used to play basketball.
Oh yeah,
all the time.
That's right.
And the thing that just amazes me is here's a guy who played, shortstop and third base, which are prone to get hurt. Not as much maybe a second baseman, but then playing basketball, holy smokes! I mean, that's where you really get hurt.
Yeah, he used to play pickup games at Calvert Hall, and then there were a couple of other schools on off days. They just had pickup games at Bullhorn and Calvert Hill.
If I was his agent, I'd be just shaking in my boots watching them. Say, don't go for any rebounds.
Well, speaking of that, I don't understand how the NBA allows its players to play in these international events during the off season. Look what happened to poor Paul George.
Oh, what a good! Did you see that?
Horrific.
Broken
leg,
gruesome injury,
and he's gone for the season. That kills Indiana's chances of getting back to the.
Oh my God!
Yeah, getting back to the conference finals.
That is tough. Okay.
That's an injury you could only see once. I mean, if you notice, there were no replays.
No, do not want to see the replay.
Like the kid in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, the guy from Louisville.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ouch. Yeah.
Okay, guys, going to get to our third and final commercial break. And again, the theme is Missed It by That Much. In 1924, Rogers Hornsby of the St. Louis Cardinals won a batting title for the National League with his .424 average. He came so close to setting a major league record, but fell short by .002. All right? Who previously had hit a major league record-setting average of .426? All right?
Okay.
The first three emails with the correct answer are going to win a free 2-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email edward@sportsecon101.com. The answer to this question. In 1924, Rogers Hornsby of the St. Louis Cardinals won a batting title for the National League with his .424 average. He came so close to setting a major league record, but fell short by .002. So here's the question. Who previously had set the major league record with hitting .426? Don't touch that dial because Sports Econ 101 will be right back with some closing comments.
Hall of Famer?
I believe so.
Okay. Pretty well known name? Relatively.
Well, you're talking about old baseball, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's put it this way. I believe you will have heard of it.
Honus Wagner?
I'm guessing now.
Okay. I thought Hornsby had the record. I didn't realize that somebody else had it.
426. God,
426. That's obscene. That's
Can you
absurd.
imagine getting a hit almost half the time?
Well, he was probably on base like 60% of the time. Think about that.
Oh, the walks
That's all
and stuff,
the walks,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Bonds had an on-base percentage. It was about 500 one year. I remember he had 370 in 2002. And I think he still holds the record for walks. It's 170 or something.
Yeah, wasn't his on-base percentage like
Oh, it was-
8-7? I mean, it was
Just
just
in the 900s.
Yeah,
It's crazy. He was getting on base every day. Of course, you'd only see like one or two pitches, good pitches a game. I still think, as much as I don't like to hear about people getting into the Hall or being considered for the Hall for steroids, I still think he's deserving. His numbers were too good, even before steroids. But
That's true.
he'll never get in, and neither will Clemens. Not in our lifetime. Maybe 60, 70 years. Maybe.
What about Rose?
You know, I don't think Rose will get in until he admits he made a mistake and apologized.
I thought he
I
did.
think He did.
Well, he didn't do it publicly. He said he admitted gambling, but he never apologized, and that was the problem. You have to be, have some contrition. That's the case. Anyway.
Okay, here we go.
Closing comments.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, last time for the show, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn
The closer.
and Bruce McGowan. When we get to the third commercial break, we ask this final trivia question. In 1924, Rogers Hornsby of the St. Louis Cardinals won a batting title for the National League with his .424 average. He came so close to setting a major league record, but fell short by .002. Who previously had hit a major league record-setting .426 average?
Bruce?
I'm going to say Honus Wagner,
No.
not Ty Cobb.
No. Matt LaJoy.
Oh, Napoleon Larry Lajoie.
Oh, holy
Yes.
smokes. You know all the...
I know all the. I got
all
a
the
quick story to tell you about Rogers Hornsby.
You know why? Because Bruce was there.
That's right. In a previous life. Rogers Hornsby's mom died, and the funeral was set for a Saturday, and he told the reporters he was going to play. And somebody said, your mom just died. Mom would have understood.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the kind of guy Rogers Hornsby was. Very focused.
Just like Ty Cobb, if his mom was guarding the plate.
Oh.
Hey, it doesn't matter.
Knock her
Spikes
down.
up, baby.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, I want to thank our co-hosts again, Vern Glenn and Bruce McGowan. Thank you very much. Here's our thoughts for the day. The most shoplifted item in the U.S. is candy, and in Europe, it's cheese.
Why?
Now, why is that? Why do you have that in sports? I don't know why. That explains a lot. I don't understand. Okay. And San Francisco 49ers coach Jim Harbaugh played Screech, his cousin, on a 1996 episode of Saved by the Bell.
I remember I saw the episode. Yeah.
It sounded like you said 1996.
No, I'm sorry. 1996.
1996.
Well, yeah. He was playing for the Colts at the time.
That's right. That's right.
Number 4.
Number 4.
That's right. He did get traded from the
Captain
Colts.
Comeback.
That's right. That was his nickname.
Yeah.
I still remember Mike Ditka just slamming the clipboard down when Harbaugh called an audible.
Yeah.
Don't you ever call an audible again.
Oh, man.
All right, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and giving away more free vacations for answering sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.
The interesting thing about Ty Cobb, you may know this, his